Hey Moonbeams, Luna popping in with an unconventional movie review of A Quiet Place Day 1, starring Lupita Nyong'o, Joseph Quinn, and Jaime Onsu. This review will contain spoilers, so scroll by if you don't want them. The movie is set in New York City. Lupita plays a terminally ill cancer patient who is quite angry and bitter, and she lives in hospice in a facility on Long Island. They go to New York for the day for a show, and that's when all the shit hits the fan. The movie is listed as a horror, but I would think it's more of a thriller than a horror. There weren't like jump scares, maybe one or two, but I wouldn't even, consider them jump scares. They didn't do an explanation of where or what these creatures were. The government were involved and had jets and helicopters and all types of things in the air attempting to control the situation. But that's when we realized that these creatures were drawn to noise. Now, I don't know if they have sight and only go by hearing, which I think they do, but their agility and man, they were super fast and they were really strong. And it didn't seem like they were killing people for food, for sustenance. It just seemed like some predator shit. Like they were just killing people for the hell of it. The creatures had an aversion to water, so the government blew up the bridges that connected the boroughs, and that's the only reason that I'm thinking that they did that, to try to keep the creatures from crossing over into other boroughs, which we know that they did because they had the other two Quiet Place movies. And this was supposed to be the beginning of it, at least in New York. I don't know where the other ones were set, but I can only assume the reason they blew up the bridges was to sort of stymie their access to other lands. Is that right, guys? Have you seen the movie? Is that what you got out of them blowing up the bridges? I definitely could have used more screen time from Jamin Onsu. I mean, the man is like a piece of art. He is just sculptured onyx. He's just a beautiful man, and he's aging gracefully, by the way. I mean, I remember him all the way back from Janet Jackson's Love Will Never Do Without You video, when he was on that white beach and had on those white pants, and that beautiful dark obsidian skin was just shimmering in the sun. He's a beautiful man. And I wish he had more screen time, but it really didn't call for it. It was more about Lupita, and I get it. He was a character who was there, and he survived the apocalypse as well. But I'm a Jaime Unsu fan, and I would have loved to have seen more is all. I thought it was very interesting that Lupita's character decided to transition the way that she did. We didn't see anything, but we knew what was happening. She was terminal. She didn't have her medication. She was in horrible pain, and she knew she couldn't survive much longer, especially without medication. I mean, hell, she was in hospice. Her time was winding down. And just the way that she decided to transition on her terms, I thought it was just amazing to me, because as a chronically ill person, you think about these things, or I have anyway, because I've been in a situation where I needed to think about it. I went on a hike when I was a nomad, living as a nomad, and the hike wasn't inclusive. And me, along with other people who weren't physically able, were just simply left behind. And that's all I could think of. Like, if something happens, it's really detrimental and we don't have the physical ability to move, we're shit out of luck, you know? Nobody's going to want to carry us and support us because we could stymie them. We could cause them to lose their lives, and I get that. But the fact that we are not even part of the conversation or the equation, it pissed me off, and it still pisses me off. I'm like, well, what about us? Don't we matter? So I took that away from the movie, and I'm just really impressed that they used somebody who was in that situation to still fight for their life, but knowing that whether they lived or succeeded for another day, that their time was still winding down. And she just chose to go out on her terms. She called them to her. We didn't see anything, but she was playing Nina Simone in her headphones, and she said, I'm feeling good. And she thanked the guy that she was traveling with during the movie because she gave him her cat and said, take care of my cat. It was a very interesting movie. It wasn't too long, maybe an hour and a half. And I do recommend it. I would love to know your thoughts if you have seen this movie. Let's dish. Peace, love, and blessings, y'all. Luna out.